Welcome to our special series of Let's Talk for KubeCon EU, and I'm your host, Sotil Bhartia. My next guest is Laurent Gil, CPO and co-founder at Cast AI. Laurent, it's great to have you on the show today.
Great to have you as well.
Let's start with the company. Tell me a bit about Cast AI. What is it all about? What problem are you trying to solve for the ecosystem?
The reason why I started the company is from a personal frustration that I had when I was running my previous startup was cybersecurity. And the frustration was the following. When I started the firm, it was in 2015, end of 2014, we would spend about $2,000 to $3,000 on AWS on the cloud, which is normal for a company of 20 people. Then 3 years later, by the time we got acquired by Oracle, that became $150,000 a month. Every month we would meet with my CTO, my CEO, and we would think of, okay, what do we do to have this bill under control? Every month we would find a few things, and then the next month we'll increase by 10% anyway. So it was very frustrating to not be able to control, understand, and have any action item on how do you make sure that your number one cost besides salary is under control. And that's the reason why I did Cast. I thought there must be a way to automatically reduce your cost, your cloud cost, or at least to understand why you are spending that much and to ensure that you are really using all the resources that you should and nothing more than what you should. So that's the reason why we did Cast, having your cloud costs under control.
Perfect. Now, if you do look at the last year, because of this pandemic, a lot of companies accelerated their cloud native or digital transformation journey. Now, because of this rush, there are a lot of things that, first of all, not only they were not prepared for, but they cannot think beforehand. Sometimes when you go through that, then only you come across those problems. So can you talk about what challenges are they facing now once they have moved to the cloud or rush to the cloud, especially from the cost perspective, because that is your focus area?
I call this now the hangover. so here's what. Yeah, during the COVID year, 2020, a lot of people start to realize that it's more efficient to have someone else manage your infrastructure, and that's where cloud providers did a great job at doing it. And so a lot of our friends and colleagues and organizations did move to the cloud. Either they completed their project or they launched a lot of new projects at the same time to try to have this dependency to data center go away. And so the hangover means, well, now they're starting to receive the first few months of how much is this really going to cost them. And there is a sticker shock between how much you were spending before on your on-prem or your data centers or whatever you had at home, and how much you spend now on the cloud. If you only move as what's called a lift and shift, then you effectively, most likely, your costs had just increased because now you have to pay the cost of someone else to run what you had probably sunk cost in the past. And that's what we see in a lot of organizations. They wake up suddenly and they say, well, our cloud costs have doubled or tripled in the last 12 months. What happened? And why is it so? I think that's what I call the hangover.
I want to understand that what contributes to this hangover or, bill shock or whatever you want to call it. Is it because cloud native work is too complicated? There are so many moving pieces. You don't even have a total overview of what is going on there. Or is it because since it's so easy, all you need to do is put your credit card and you're done, and then you bills start piling up?
I think it's the easiness of things. So there were two factors. One is I'm talking to the organizations that are moved from on-prem to the cloud. There are other problems when companies born on the cloud itself. You also have some issues there. But for companies that move from on-prem to the cloud, think of this as it's a little bit of a different culture. On-prem, you tend to overprovision. And the reason is, it will take you 3 months to add a new rack or to add new servers. Therefore, you're going to buy a little bit more than you need. And that's a natural human behavior. You need to do this because you know that it will take 3 months to add more compute or more resources to your on-prem. That behavior translated into the cloud. But on the cloud, you don't need to over-provision. You know that the cloud is elastic. You can add resources when you need them. But that's not the culture of those organizations that moved to the cloud in a hurry last year. So a lot of what we see from especially large organizations is over provisioning, just because that's how it used to be done. I would say in the old world. For organizations that were born on the cloud, this over provisioning is still there. It's not there because of the culture. It's there because it's simply very, very hard to know what exactly do you need. You ask a developer, and the developer is doing their development work, and then suddenly they're going to push this into production. And the first question the DevOps team asks them is, how many machines do you need on AWS or Google or Azure or DigitalOcean? And how many do you need now, and how many do you need in 3 months? They don't know. It's very, very hard to predict that. It's very hard to know exactly how many of these you need right now. So think of this as, how many do you need in a few months from now? Because we need to do the budget, we need to have that number. So these questions are so hard to answer that most of the time, the safest route is, let's over provision as we are not sure. Let's not under provision, because then we are in trouble.
So how does Cast AI deal with this problem? Is it that you offer technology solutions to bring it, or you make recommendations?
Oh, that's a very good question. We don't believe in recommendation. So for me, I call this the first generation of cloud management tools that says, hey, I'm analyzing everything you have on AWS, for example, and I will look at the utilization rate on all of these VMs, EC2 instances that you have, and then this report will generate the 1,000 tickets that will go to DevOps to right scale or reduce this number of machines, or maybe increase them if that's the case. I don't believe in this anymore. I believe in the fact that we are past the recommendation. We're all about the automation of things. You see, we have very smart AI techniques or machine learning techniques that are able to analyze very precisely, looking at the past, right? Looking at the next, sometimes it's just last few minutes or few days or few hours. That's all enough for an AI engine to say, well, these 5 servers that are working on these containerized applications, 4 of them are busy 60% of the time, and the machine number 5 is busy maybe 30% of the time. What does this tell us? Well, it tells us that this is vastly over provisioned. The first 4 machines could probably become 3, and the machine number 5 could probably disappear by transferring the containers to machine 1, 2, and 3. The point here is, let's use some form of automation that will do that for me. So I don't need anymore to have a recommendation that show me this. I have the system automatically become autonomous and manage itself to do this. The second point that is as important, this one is, my utilization right now is not the same as maybe my utilization tomorrow or during a holiday, maybe during the night. I'll give you this example where a lot of our customers are SaaS business, so software as a service. What happened? Well, the customers are using the product during the day, but at night they are sleeping. Therefore, there's almost no traffic to be done at night, but there's a huge increase of traffic usually in the morning, peak around lunchtime, and then go down until 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. During the day. With automation, you're able to do this right sizing in sub-minute interval. And now you're completely in a different place. It's not anymore a recommendation that generates tickets that have to be treated offline. It's a sub 1 minute or sub 2 minutes. It takes about 2 minutes for a VM to appear on any of the cloud provider. So sub 2 minute interval where you have an engine that self-expand or shrink the footprint of your modern cloud native applications, because the application feel happier if it has more resources at the time where it needs them, and if it have less resources at the time it doesn't need that many. And you do this in sub 2 minute intervals, so you're able to smoothly follow the curve of your utilization at the time it should be used. And I'll give you why this is important. Well, usually for a SaaS business, the day is opposite as the night. So if you spin machine during the day, destroy them when you don't need them, you effectively have saved 50% of your cost just by doing this. Okay, I mean, think about this. So the traditional way, especially if you were on-prem, would be you have more machine than you really need because you are not sure. To the new world of the current generation of cost optimization, that says, no, you don't need, you will not over provision anymore. And you actually will make sub-minute changes in your infrastructure based on how happy the application feels within the machine it has. And you define the happiness of an application by the policies that you want to use for your AI or your machine learning engine. Right? Some policies can be cost. Some policies can be performance. But if you're a cybersecurity company, you have to process these files really easy, really fast. Imagine it's a fraud detection. So people come to your website, it's a payment platform. You need to know if it's a good human or if it's a malicious bot. Well, you don't have a lot of time to do this. You have to do it right away. Therefore, the policy for this application will probably be performance over cost. And so you define the policy as an analyst, then you let the engine play with it and decide for you.
When they do over provision, when they do get things more than they need, in addition to cost, does that also create a security risk because you are getting things that you are not even keeping a track of?
Oh, yes, the security risk is something we see very often. I'll give you one example. It's a famous one. A very large bank in the US created a database on a very large hyperscaler, one of the largest, and they did it in a hurry. They actually didn't use the cloud service of that hyperscaler. They created the database using MySQL because they were in a hurry, because that's what they used to do when they were doing this on-prem. By doing a manual configuration of MySQL, what did they do? Well, they clicked on the box that says backup. They didn't click on the box that says encrypt. And so they were happily backupping a customer database information. It's a financial institution, right? That's important data. They were happily doing the backup in non-encrypted fashion, non-encrypted by the application itself, on a bucket that had public internet access. That's what happened when you do it too fast and when you use a human to do that kind of configuration.
Laurent, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about not only Cast AI, what you folks are doing there, but also some of the serious challenges that or problems that companies run into by over provisioning or getting more than what they need, which not only increases cloud bill or, as you say, hangover, but it also leads to some issues related to security. So thanks for your time today, and I look forward to talk to you again. Thank you.
Thank you.